And the first one I got for you, it's a really relevant topic, given that it is Ramadan right now. And the question is, how do you approach nutrition and training, and just overall, like, how do you approach your goals during this time when you're fasting from sunrise to sunset? So I know a lot of people watching this might be practicing it themselves, or they have clients that are observing it. So what would your advice be in that situation?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind with Ramadan is it is planned, right? Like, it's coming. So
Yeah.
it speaks to the whole notion of nutritional periodization. If you're not periodizing your nutrition around the fact that Ramadan is coming, which would be a post-season phase, right? Because it's going to be a recovery phase of sorts. You're certainly not going to be acting with any large degree of intensity, and be getting to caloric maintenance, but you're certainly not going to be getting a lot of stress on the body. You probably can clean up your food choices. You can probably do a lot of benefits here, with some fasting, because we all know there are lots of benefits to fasting. So just make sure that it's planned for, number one, right? That it's scheduled in your year. Number two, obviously, is you understand your expectations. I think anybody that thinks they're going to continue on whatever journey they were on is just delusional at best. I don't think you need to derail your progress, but I definitely think it is a lateral movement in your journey. It's not forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be backwards. And so one of the things that I actually have a client right now that's going through Ramadan, and so I'll share exactly what we're doing, is I believe, and I could be off, but this is pretty accurate. I believe sundown is right around 8 o'clock right now. And I think sun up is like 6:40, 6:50, something like that. Like, it's right in that window. And so what we're doing is we're eating right at sundown, protein, carbohydrates, low fat meal, very typical what I would prescribe for a pre-workout meal, right? 8:30, we're training around 9:30, 9:40. Okay. And so we're getting in body weight only movements. He does have like one or two dumbbells. We threw like a dumbbell movement in there. Nothing intensive. So he's got 3 training sessions, I believe, one of which has metabolic, like one of which is like an actual Metcon, where I want him to push himself a little bit. Like, I want that stress response. The other 2 really just flow type sessions. The other 4 days, mobility related. So again, lots of parasympathetic inputs, lots of recovery, but still getting that stimulus. I think you need far less stimulus to maintain your muscle than you do to grow tissue. And so as long as we're creating that activation, sure, you might lose some, but you're not going to lose that much in the grand scheme of things. So we're doing that right around 9:45. Obviously, recovery meal right when he's done around 10:30. We're trying to get in bed by 11 o'clock. Usually at 11 o'clock, we're sleeping till about 5. We're getting in a meal right when he wakes up. And then, if applicable, like if there's any hunger, a shake and a piece of fruit, or some, along with, not or, but and some sort of fats on the way out, right? So when you look at it, we're getting 4 feedings in. And when you actually look at, like, if you were to look at like Lane Norton's research, back in the day, he talked about what was optimal for, maximizing muscle protein synthesis and decreasing muscle breakdown synthesis, right? And so he actually showed that further spaced out feedings were better. Now, obviously, in a condensed eating window, you're not spacing them out optimally. But I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, how are you only getting 4 feedings in a day? I mean, to this day, I only eat 4 times in a day. I think 4 times can actually be plenty. It's just a different style window. So I think it's planning. I think it's consistency. I think it's controlled expectations. And I think it's a massive emphasis on recovery. Also, like, this is what you have to consider is sleep is, if you're trying to maximize body composition during Ramadan, you're likely not going to be sleeping as much as normal, which means you're already operating at a slightly higher stress profile than you normally would be, right? We always talk about that stress cup, and on a scale of 0 to 10, where it is when you're waking up. If you're not sleeping adequately, we've just risen the number by about 4 right? So you're waking up 4, maybe even 5 just from sleep alone. Now we're throwing in the workout. Now we're throwing in whatever life stress, work stress, family stress, right? You're probably operating at a really high level of stress. So this is why we're backing off in training intensity. We definitely want to be using high quality, nutrient dense foods. We don't need any extra like GI irritation, inflammation, anything like that. And then of course, when you're not on your 3 days of training, perhaps even right before, right after sundown, just some quick parasympathetic inputs, get the meal in, wait up, another parasympathetic input, another meal, go to bed. That's what you have to look at this phase for, a brief reset. And I think that as long as you're controlling your expectations, really the amount of time is not enough to hurt anybody.
Awesome. Love it. Do you have anything else to add on that? Do you feel like you covered everything there?
I don't think so, man. Obviously there's going to be nuance in every situation. I'll say this, like Ramadan's not the time to think that you're going to be fixing metabolic adaptations. Ramadan's not the time to think that you're going to be fixing your hormones or things like that. And so I think if you're a client or you're a person out there that is in one of those scenarios where you do have a specialized need, you need to fix your hormones, you need to reverse, you need to restore maintenance or homeostasis. Just be patient and understand that Ramadan is probably not that time. Not to say you can't make progress, because you absolutely can. But I don't think that at that time you're really going to crush it. On the same token, again, like going all the way back to my first statement, it's really about planning and it's really about controlling expectations.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the 7th or 8th time I've worked with somebody through Ramadan, and it's always about controlling expectations. You're not going to make massive progress. Not saying you can't make progress, right? So don't mistake me saying massive progress for no progress. You're just not going to make massive progress. And I think that's okay. I think we all go through times like that. And I just think as long as you understand that, you're going to be good.